Chapter 1: The Money Awakening. Why Your Financial Life Starts with Awareness. Most people don't fail financially because they are lazy or unintelligent. They fail because no one ever showed them how money actually works. They grow up learning how to listen, how to obey, how to pass exams, how to survive, but not how to manage, grow, and protect money. So they enter adulthood earning, spending, and struggling on autopilot, repeating patterns they never consciously chose. And the saddest part? They think this is normal. They think stress is normal. They think living paycheck to paycheck is normal. They think debt is normal. They think financial anxiety is just part of life. But it's not. It's the result of living without financial awareness. Your financial life does not begin with how much you earn. It begins with how clearly you see. Awareness is the first upgrade. Before strategy. Before investing. Before wealth. Before freedom. Because you cannot change what you do not understand. Most people avoid looking at their true financial picture. They avoid checking balances. They avoid adding up debt. They avoid tracking spending. They avoid confronting bad habits. Not because they don't care, but because the truth feels uncomfortable. But discomfort is temporary. Ignorance is permanent. The moment you choose to look honestly at your money, you step out of confusion and into control. And control is where confidence begins. Money is not just numbers. It is behavior. It is emotion. It is psychology. It is identity. The way you spend reflects what you value. The way you save reveals what you fear. The way you borrow exposes what you believe about time, patience, and future reward. Your bank statement is a mirror. Most people try to change their financial life by chasing more income without ever examining their habits. But income without awareness simply increases the size of your mistakes. Earn more while spending blindly, you stay broke at a higher level. Borrow more without understanding debt, you build invisible chains. Buy more without clarity, you accumulate stress, not wealth. This is why the first rule of personal finance is not earning, saving, or investing. It is conscious control. You must become the observer of your own financial behavior before you become its master. Money follows attention. Where your awareness goes, your financial power grows. The moment you stop drifting and start tracking, something shifts inside you. You stop feeling like money is happening to you. You feel like you are finally driving. And here is the truth most beginners don't hear. You do not need to be rich to act rich with discipline. You do not need a high income to live with financial intelligence. You do not need complex strategies to build a strong foundation. You only need clarity and consistency. Wealth is not built by dramatic moves. It is built by small, boring, repeated decisions made with intention. The wealthy person is not the one who makes the most exciting financial moves. It is the one who makes the most aligned ones. Your financial life is shaped by thousands of tiny choices. What you buy when you're tired. What you spend when you're emotional. What you ignore when it feels uncomfortable. What you delay because it feels scary. These choices do not feel powerful in the moment. But over time they create either freedom or frustration. Money magnifies who you already are. If you are disciplined, money turns discipline into wealth. If you are careless, money turns carelessness into chaos. This is why personal finance is deeply personal. It forces you to face your patterns, your impulses, your fears, your priorities. And this is also why it is so transformative. When you learn to control money, you begin to control more than finances. You gain control over your choices, your options, your future. You stop living reactively. You start living deliberately. Another truth beginners must understand early. You do not become wealthy by accident. You become wealthy by design. Every financially stable life is built, not stumbled into. You don't drift into savings. You plan for it. You don't magically avoid debt. You set rules. You don't randomly become secure. You construct systems. Personal finance is not about restriction. It is about direction. It is not about saying no to everything you want. It is about saying yes to what truly matters long-term. Short-term comfort is easy. Long-term peace requires intelligence. And peace is the true goal of money, not luxury, not status, not comparison. Peace is waking up without dread. Peace is having choices. Peace is knowing one emergency won't destroy your life. Peace is being able to walk away. Peace is freedom from financial panic. This guide is not about getting rich overnight. It is about never being broke again, mentally or financially. It is about moving from confusion to clarity, from impulse to intention, from stress to structure, from survival to strategy. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not doomed. You are simply at the beginning of your financial education. And education compounds. Every concept you learn from this point forward multiplies the value of every dollar you touch. Every habit you shift changes the direction of your future. Every rule you adopt protects you from yourself on your worst days. Chapter 2. Understanding the flow of money, income, expenses, saving, and debt. Money moves through your life whether you are aware of it or not. Every day it enters, exits, accumulates, or disappears. Most people never stop to study this movement. They only react to the symptoms: stress, shortages, emergencies, pressure. But mastery begins when you understand the flow. Think of your financial life like a river. Money flows in. Money flows out. What remains determines your safety, your choices, and your future. If you don't control the flow, the river controls you. There are only 4 forces in your personal financial system: income, expenses, saving, and debt. Every financial outcome you experience is the result of how these 4 interact. When they are balanced, you feel stable. When they are misaligned, you feel trapped. Income is the engine. It is the money you earn from your time, skills, and effort. Salary, wages, freelance work, business income, side hustles, all of it is income. Most beginners believe their entire financial life depends on income alone. They think, if I just earned more, everything would be fine. This belief is comforting but incomplete. Income without structure simply increases the speed at which money moves through you. If you don't control expenses, higher income doesn't make you rich. It just makes you a higher level spender. Expenses are where money reveals your truth. What you spend on shows what you prioritize. Housing, food, transport, entertainment, subscriptions, impulsive purchases, emotional spending, it all adds up quietly. Expenses don't feel dangerous because each decision feels small. But accumulation is where power lives. Most people don't overspend because they are irresponsible. They overspend because they are unconscious. They never look at totals. They never confront patterns. They never connect small daily choices to long-term outcomes. They only feel the pain when the account runs dry. When you finally track your expenses honestly, it can feel uncomfortable. But that discomfort is the gateway to control. You stop guessing. You stop hoping. You start managing. Saving is what turns income into security. It is what separates survival from stability. Saving is not about what you don't spend, it is about what you protect. It is paying your future self first. It is choosing future freedom over present impulse. Many beginners try to save whatever is left over at the end of the month. This usually fails because there is rarely anything left. True saving is intentional. It is a fixed decision, not a hopeful outcome. Saving is not just about emergencies. It is about dignity. It is about not being one crisis away from collapse. It is about buying choices with patience. Debt is future income being spent in advance. It is not inherently evil, but it is extremely powerful, either as a tool or a trap. When used for consumption without restraint, debt enslaves future time. You are working today for yesterday's spending. When used strategically and carefully, debt can expand opportunity. But beginners must first learn to respect debt before they ever use it. The danger of debt is not just the money you owe, it is the pressure it creates on every future decision. It changes the way you think. It compresses your options. It makes fear louder and patience shorter. Most financial stress does not come from low income alone. It comes from the mismatch between income, expenses, saving, and debt. When expenses rise faster than income, stress appears. When debt grows faster than saving, anxiety multiplies. When income fluctuates without reserves, panic follows. Now here is the truth that changes everything. You do not need perfection in all 4 areas to be stable. You only need alignment. Alignment means your expenses are designed to fit your income. Alignment means your saving is built into your system, not hoped for. Alignment means your debt is controlled, not consuming. Control does not mean deprivation. It means direction. The turning point for most people comes when they realize money is not managed emotionally, it is managed mechanically. You don't debate your bills every month. You automate them. You don't rely on willpower to save. You make it automatic. You don't fight temptation daily. You remove it from the system. Financial peace is created by systems, not moods. Beginners often feel overwhelmed because they try to fix everything at once. Earn more, spend less, kill debt, invest, save, build credit, start a business. This overload leads to paralysis. The truth is, progress comes from mastering one layer at a time. First, stabilize the flow. Then strengthen the reserves. Then eliminate the leaks. Then grow the engine. You do not build wealth by leaping to the top. You build it by tightening the foundation. Here is a simple clarity that transforms behavior. Income decides your ceiling. Expenses decide your floor. Saving creates your safety net. Debt determines your pressure. When your floor rises close to your ceiling, you suffocate. When your safety net disappears, fear takes over. When pressure dominates, mistakes multiply. Your goal as a beginner is not to become rich quickly. Your goal is to eliminate fragility. A fragile financial life breaks under normal stress. A strong one bends and recovers. And strength always begins with understanding. The reason this feels new to many people is simple. No one ever sat them down and showed them how the machine actually works. They were told to earn but not how to manage. To buy but not how to protect. To survive but not how to grow. Now you see the machine. You see the river. Once you see it, you can redirect it. Chapter 3, The Budget Blueprint, Giving Every Dollar a Job. A budget is not a cage. It is a map. Most beginners fear the word budget because they associate it with restriction, punishment, and deprivation. They imagine a life of constant denial, where every purchase feels like a mistake. But a real budget is not about limiting your life. It is about directing it. Without a budget, money disappears. With a budget, money obeys. A budget is simply a decision made in advance about where your money will go. Instead of wondering where it went after it's gone, you tell it where to go before it leaves your hands. And that single shift changes everything. Right now, if you are like most people, money moves through your life by accident. You react to bills. You react to wants. You react to emergencies. What remains at the end of the month is whatever survives the chaos. That is not management. That is survival. A budget is the moment you stop surviving and start commanding. Here is the truth beginners must accept. Every dollar you earn already has a destination. You just haven't consciously chosen it yet. If you don't assign your money a job, life will assign it one for you. And life is not gentle with unassigned money. It assigns your money to impulse, convenience, emotion, pressure, comparison. A budget takes that power back. Think of your income as a team of workers entering a factory. If no one gives them instructions, they wander, waste time, collide, and produce nothing of lasting value. But if each worker is assigned a clear role, the entire factory becomes efficient and powerful. Your dollars work the same way. Some dollars must work to keep you alive. Housing, food, transport, utilities. These are your survival jobs. Some dollars must work for your future. Saving, investing, emergency funds. These are your freedom jobs. Some dollars are allowed to work for your joy, entertainment, hobbies, experiences. These are your humanity jobs. A good budget doesn't eliminate joy. It protects it by preventing guilt, fear, and regret from poisoning your spending. The goal is not to spend nothing. The goal is to spend intentionally. A beginner's budget must be simple. Complexity creates resistance. If it feels overwhelming, you won't use it. The power of a budget is not in how detailed it is, but in how consistently it is followed. At its core, your budget only needs 3 functions. Control your necessities. Fund your future. Allow your present. First, control your necessities. These are the expenses that keep your life running. They should be stable, predictable, and aligned with your income. If your basic survival costs consume nearly all your income, you are living on the edge of fragility. One emergency will push you into debt. Your first budgeting victory is not luxury, It is breathing room. Second, fund your future. This is the part most beginners skip. They tell themselves they will save later, when they earn more, when life is easier, when stress is lower. Later rarely comes. The future is not funded by wishful thinking. It is funded by automatic, consistent decisions. Even a small saving amount changes your psychology. It shifts you from a spender to a builder. Third, allow your present. A life with no pleasure is not sustainable. If your budget feels like punishment, rebellion will follow. Small, controlled joy prevents large, uncontrolled regret. Now here is the trap many fall into. They create a budget once, fail for a week, and declare themselves bad with money. They treat the budget like a test instead of a training tool. Budgets are not meant to be perfect. They are meant to be adjusted. The first version will be wrong. That is expected. You will underestimate some categories, forget others, and overestimate your discipline. That is not failure. That is data. A budget is a living document. It evolves as you learn yourself. What matters is not that you follow it perfectly. What matters is that you return to it consistently. Every time you check your budget, you sharpen awareness. Every time you adjust it, you strengthen control. Every time you follow it even imperfectly, you build identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who manages money, not someone who avoids it. Another powerful shift happens when you begin to budget. You stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "Is this what I chose to afford?" This changes everything. Because "Can I afford this?" is a survival question. "Is this what I chose to afford?" is a power question. Power comes from choice, and choice comes from planning. A budget also exposes emotional spending. You begin to notice patterns. Spending when you're stressed, bored, lonely, tired, or excited. Money becomes a mirror. It shows you not just how you live, but how you cope. This is not to shame you. It is to awaken you. Once you see the pattern, you can break it. Once you break it, you gain leverage over yourself. And leverage over yourself is the most valuable leverage of all. Here is something most people don't realize. The purpose of a budget is not to control money. The purpose of a budget is to control anxiety about money. When every dollar has a job, your mind relaxes. When the future is funded automatically, fear quiets. When spending is intentional, guilt disappears. Clarity is calming. Uncertainty is exhausting. Your budget becomes your quiet agreement with yourself. I know where my money is going, and it is aligned with who I want to become. That identity shift is priceless. You are no longer drifting. You are building. Chapter 4, The Emergency Fund. Your first line of financial defense. Life is not gentle with uncertainty. It doesn't announce its storms in advance. A car breaks down without warning. A medical bill appears overnight. A job changes. An unexpected responsibility lands on your shoulders. These moments are not rare, they are guaranteed. The only question is whether you will meet them with panic or with preparation. This is where the emergency fund becomes your silent protector. Most financial damage does not come from poor intentions. It comes from being unprepared at the wrong moment. When an emergency hits and there is no buffer, people are forced into the worst possible decisions. High-interest debt, borrowing from the wrong people, selling assets in desperation, or sacrificing long-term goals for short-term survival. An emergency fund is not just money in an account. It is freedom from financial fear. It is the space between crisis and collapse. Beginners often misunderstand this fund. They think it is an investment. It is not. They think it is optional. It is not. They think it is only for people with extra money. It is precisely for those who don't. An emergency fund exists for one purpose only: to keep your life from spiraling when the unexpected happens. It is not for vacations. It is not for shopping. It is not for opportunities. It is not for wants. It is for survival with dignity. Without this buffer, every inconvenience becomes a catastrophe. With it, even serious problems become manageable. Here is the brutal truth. You cannot build wealth while living in constant financial fragility. Wealth requires stability. Stability requires protection. Protection requires reserves. An emergency fund is the foundation beneath every higher financial goal. Without it, everything else rests on sand. Many beginners resist this step because it feels slow. It is not exciting. It does not feel like progress. It does not multiply quickly. It just sits there. But what it gives you is something no investment can promise. Time to think clearly when life gets loud. When you have no buffer, urgency hijacks your brain. You move from calm decision-making into survival mode. Fear becomes your financial advisor. And fear is the worst advisor you can ever hire. A funded emergency account gives you the power to pause. It buys you time to breathe, time to evaluate, time to choose wisely, time to protect your long-term plan. This is why the emergency fund is not about money alone. It is about mental security. The recommended size of an emergency fund is usually 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses. For beginners, this number can feel overwhelming. But remember, it is not built in a week. It is built layer by layer. You do not need the full amount immediately. You need to start immediately. Your first goal is not 6 months. Your first goal is one small win, a few weeks of coverage. Then 1 month. Then 2. Then 3. Progress creates belief. Belief fuels consistency. The mistake many people make is waiting for their finances to feel stable before saving. Stability is not something you wait for, it is something you build. Another common trap is keeping emergency money too accessible. If it sits in your daily spending account, it will be treated like spending money. You need psychological separation. A different bank. A different account. A clear mental label. This is not for me today. This is for my future safety. You protect it the same way you would protect your health, consistently and without negotiation. An emergency fund also changes the way you relate to debt. When you have reserves, you no longer reach for credit at the first sign of trouble. You stop using tomorrow's income to solve today's problems. This alone can save you thousands over a lifetime. Debt thrives in the absence of cash. Cash starves desperation. There is also an emotional upgrade that happens when your initial emergency fund is complete. You sleep differently. You make decisions differently. You say no with less fear. You take measured risks instead of reckless ones. You stop living one accident away from devastation. You begin to feel grounded. This grounded feeling is not luxury. It is stability. And stability is what allows everything else to grow. Here is a principle that shifts perspective. The emergency fund does not slow your wealth journey. It protects it. Without it, one bad month can wipe out years of effort. With it, setbacks become small detours instead of dead ends. The emergency fund is what allows you to be patient with investing, disciplined with budgeting, and calm during uncertainty. It is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It is the difference between reacting to life and responding to it. You are not building this fund because you expect disaster. You are building it because you respect reality. Reality includes uncertainty. Reality includes surprise. Reality includes risk. Prepared people suffer less not because life favors them, but because they plan for what life always does. And once your emergency fund is in place, something important happens. You move from fragile to resilient. Fragile systems break under pressure. Resilient systems absorb shock and keep moving. Chapter 5. Conquering Debt. Turning a financial prison into a passing phase. Debt feels invisible at first. It enters quietly, disguised as convenience, opportunity, or relief. It promises you what you want now and asks for payment later when it seems easier to handle. But over time that promise grows heavier. What once felt small begins to press on every decision you make. Debt is not just a financial weight. It is a psychological burden. It changes the way you think. It compresses your future. It steals from tomorrow to pay for yesterday. And if left unmanaged, it quietly becomes the ceiling over your life. Most beginners do not intend to drown in debt. They accumulate it during moments of pressure, emotion, urgency, or lack of information. A credit card swipe during stress. A loan taken out of fear. A purchase made to feel better in the moment. One decision rarely feels destructive. It is the pattern that creates damage. Debt grows fastest when awareness is absent. The first step in conquering debt is not aggression. It is honesty. You must be willing to see the full picture without flinching. Total amounts, interest rates, minimum payments, deadlines. All of it. Avoiding the numbers only multiplies their power over your mind. Clarity weakens debt's psychological grip. Many people feel shame when they confront their debt. But shame is a feeling, not a plan. And shame never built freedom for anyone. You don't beat debt by judging yourself. You beat it by outlasting it with structure and discipline. Debt is not a moral failure. It is a financial condition. And like any condition, it can be treated. There are two primary forces that make debt dangerous: time and interest. Time allows interest to compound against you. Interest ensures that every delay makes the problem larger. Debt feeds on procrastination. The longer you ignore it, the louder it becomes. But here is the shift that changes everything. Debt is not defeated in one heroic move. It is defeated through relentless consistency. Small payments made consistently beat large promises made occasionally. Beginners often feel overwhelmed because they look at the total and think, "I will never escape this." But the total is not what you pay. You only ever pay one installment at a time. Freedom is built in increments, not in fantasies. The real war is not with the number. It is with your patience. To defeat debt, you must move from emotional decision-making to mechanical execution. Emotion created most debt. Systems destroy it. There are two powerful psychological approaches to debt elimination. The first prioritizes quick emotional victories, attacking the smallest debts first to build momentum. The second prioritizes mathematical efficiency, attacking the highest interest debts to reduce long-term cost. Both work. The most dangerous path is choosing neither and drifting. What matters most is not the method. It is the commitment to movement. Every month you reduce your total debt, you reclaim a piece of your future. Every balance that disappears releases pressure from your life. Every paid-off account is not just a number, it is a mental victory. Debt steals more than money. It steals options. It makes you tolerate environments you should leave. It makes you accept jobs you've outgrown. It makes you postpone dreams that could have already begun. It whispers that you must wait. But debt only has power when you kneel to it. The moment you commit to eliminating it with clarity and consistency, its grip begins to weaken. Slowly at first, then visibly, then dramatically. Another trap beginners fall into is trying to invest while buried in high-interest consumer debt. This often feels productive, but it is usually mathematically unsound. When interest is working against you faster than potential returns can work for you, you are attempting to climb while carrying chains. Debt freedom creates leverage. Leverage accelerates wealth. There is also an emotional transformation that occurs as balances fall. Your confidence grows. Your discipline strengthens. Your self-respect deepens. You stop seeing yourself as someone in trouble, and start seeing yourself as someone in control. This identity shift is crucial, because identity dictates behavior. When you still see yourself as a debtor, you tolerate debt. When you begin to see yourself as a builder, you reject it. Debt loses its power when your identity outgrows it. One of the most dangerous lies people tell themselves is, "I will deal with my debt later when life is calmer." But debt does not wait for calm. It grows in chaos. It feeds on delay. And later becomes heavier precisely because it is postponed. There is never a perfect time to confront debt. There is only the moment you decide to stop running from it. That moment does not arrive with certainty or excitement. It arrives with resolve. You don't need to feel brave to begin. You just need to begin while afraid. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in spite of it. Debt is not a life sentence. It is a phase, a chapter, a temporary condition. But only if you decide it is temporary. Your money should be working to build your future, not chained to your past. Every payment you make toward freedom is an investment into your peace, your options, and your future self. And one day, quietly without fireworks, the balance will hit zero. No chains. No pressure. No shadow of the past hovering over the present. Just space, clarity, and forward motion. Chapter 6. Mastering Credit, Using Borrowing as a Tool, Not a Trap. Credit is one of the most misunderstood forces in personal finance. For many beginners, it feels mysterious, intimidating, or even dangerous. Some fear it entirely, avoiding it at all costs. Others embrace it recklessly, seeing it as free money. Both extremes lead to limitation. True power lies between them, in mastery. Credit is not good. Credit is not bad. Credit is amplification. It amplifies discipline. It amplifies recklessness. It magnifies who you already are with money. Used properly, credit expands opportunity. Used carelessly, it compresses your future. Most people encounter credit before they understand it. A card arrives in the mail. A store offers easy payments. A bank promises convenience. And suddenly they are borrowing without knowing the rules of the game. They focus on the monthly payment and ignore the total cost. They focus on approval and ignore the long-term impact. And slowly, invisibly, leverage turns into liability. At its core, credit is a relationship of trust. A lender is trusting that your future income will repay today's loan. Your credit profile is the record of how well you have honored that trust. It is not a judgment of your character. It is a report of your behavior. Your credit score is simply a summary of 5 foundations. How long you've used credit. How much you owe. How consistently you pay. What types of credit you use. How often you seek new credit. No mystery. No magic. Just patterns of behavior tracked over time. The power of good credit is not luxury. The power of good credit is options. Lower interest rates. Better loan terms. Cheaper insurance in some regions. More negotiating power. Greater flexibility during transitions. Good credit does not make you wealthy. But bad credit can keep you poor longer than necessary. This is why beginners must stop viewing credit as spending power and start seeing it as reputation. Every payment is a vote for your financial character. Every missed due date is a mark against your future leverage. The most dangerous illusion about credit is the belief that minimum payments equal responsibility. Minimum payments are not discipline, they are survival mode. They keep you from default, but they do not protect you from interest. When you only pay the minimum, you are choosing the slowest, most expensive path to freedom. Interest is time working against you. When you carry balances without a strategy, you are renting money at a premium price. And the longer you rent it, the more expensive it becomes. True credit mastery begins with a simple rule. Never borrow for something that is still losing value when you're done paying for it, unless it is absolutely necessary for survival. Borrowing for assets, education, or productivity tools can make strategic sense. Borrowing for status, impulse, or emotion is how financial chains are forged. Another key truth. Credit limits are not spending goals. A lender offering you a large limit is not a sign that you should use it. It is a sign that they trust your income to service interest profitably. Their goal is their return. Your goal is your freedom. Those goals are not the same. A disciplined borrower keeps utilization low. They treat credit like a bridge, not a home. A way to move money efficiently, not a place to live. One of the simplest but most powerful habits in credit mastery is this. Use credit for convenience. Use cash for control. When you use a card for daily spending, you gain tracking, protection, and rewards. When you pay it off in full every month, you avoid interest entirely. This turns credit into a tool, not a burden. But if you carry balances month after month, your spending begins to arrive with a shadow, the shadow of past decisions still demanding payment. Debt from survival is understandable. Debt from strategy can be powerful. Debt from emotion is the most expensive debt of all. Good credit habits protect you from yourself on emotionally weak days. Another invisible danger is the speed of credit. Cash creates friction. You feel spending. Credit erases friction. You feel approval instead of loss. That emotional gap is where people overspend. Mastery means reintroducing friction intentionally. Waiting before large purchases. Reviewing statements carefully. Treating every swipe as real money leaving your future. Credit also demands timing discipline. Late payments do more than create fees, they damage trust. And rebuilding trust takes far longer than losing it. One missed payment can echo for years. Consistency is not glamorous, but it is powerful. Your future borrowing power is built through boring reliability. There is also a deeper mindset shift that marks true credit mastery. You stop asking, "Can I get approved?" and start asking, "Should I even apply?" Approval is easy. Wisdom is rare. Every new account is a long-term relationship. It is a promise between your present self and your future income. Do not make that promise casually. Credit should widen your path, not narrow it. Used with clarity, credit can help you bridge timing gaps, protect cash flow, build financial reputation, lower future costs. Used without discipline, it will drain your income, control your choices, delay your goals, increase stress quietly. The difference is not intelligence. It is self-control plus strategy. You do not need perfect credit to become wealthy, but you do need control over credit to stay free. And freedom in personal finance is always the real prize. Chapter 7: The First Steps into Investing. Making your money work for you. Saving protects your money. Investing multiplies it. This is the point where most beginners feel both excited and intimidated. Investing sounds powerful, but it also feels risky, complicated, even dangerous. Many people delay investing for years because they believe they must first become experts, wait for the perfect moment, or accumulate a large amount of money. Meanwhile, time, the most powerful force in investing, keeps moving forward without them. The truth is simple yet uncomfortable. You don't miss wealth because you start too late with a lot. You miss wealth because you start too late at all. Investing is not about brilliance. It is about participation. Money grows not because you are smart, but because you are consistent and patient. At its core, investing is the act of sending your money into the future to come back as more money. You delay consumption today so that tomorrow expands. You trade short-term pleasure for long-term power. This is where beginners struggle most, not with numbers but with patience. The human brain hates waiting. It craves reward now. Investing demands reward later. This mental conflict is why so many people chase shortcuts, gamble on hype, or fall into scams. They want exponential results without exponential patience. But real investing is quiet. It is slow at first, feels almost boring in the beginning, and yet, it is one of the most powerful forces a person can ever harness. The first shift every beginner must make is this. You are not trying to beat the market. You are trying to build a relationship with time. Compounding is not dramatic. It is gradual, then unstoppable. In the early years, growth looks unimpressive. Small contributions produce small visible changes. This is where most people quit. They assume it isn't working. In reality, it is only warming up. Compounding rewards those who stay when nothing seems to be happening. Another crucial truth. Investing is not a substitute for budgeting, saving, or debt control. It is a layer on top of stability. If your foundation is fragile, investing feels stressful. If your foundation is solid, investing feels empowering. You do not invest to escape chaos. You invest to expand order. For beginners, the goal is not to speculate. The goal is to participate in growth responsibly. You are not trying to get rich in a year. You are trying to build a second financial engine that runs quietly in the background of your life. This engine does not require emotion. It requires consistency. Small, automatic contributions repeated over long periods outperform dramatic, inconsistent efforts almost every time. The market does not care about your excitement. It rewards your endurance. Fear is the other great enemy of beginner investors. Fear whispers that you will buy at the wrong time, lose everything, embarrass yourself, or regret starting. But the greatest risk in investing is not loss. It is never beginning. Money that never meets the market never has a chance to grow. It remains frozen in today's limits. You cannot protect your way into wealth. You must, at some point, expose your money to growth. This does not mean recklessness. It means education combined with action. Another beginner trap is complexity. Many believe investing requires constant monitoring, advanced strategies, and insider knowledge. In reality, complexity benefits sellers and entertainers more than it benefits long-term builders. Wealth is not built through constant activity. It is built through stable systems. The market rewards patience far more than prediction. Your job is not to outsmart millions of professionals. Your job is to outlast distraction, fear, and greed. Emotion destroys more investors than ignorance ever could. When prices rise, beginners feel invincible and rush in. When prices fall, they feel foolish and rush out. This cycle of emotional decisions quietly transfers money from the impatient to the patient. Successful investors are not fearless. They are committed beyond mood. They expect volatility. They anticipate uncertainty. They do not panic when fear arrives, because they plan for it. Another life-changing mindset is this: you are not investing to make money fast. You are investing to make money inevitable. Inevitability is created through structure. Structure is created through automation. Automation removes emotion. When investing becomes automatic, it stops being stressful. It becomes a background process of your life. And background processes over long periods create astonishing results. One of the most empowering realizations for beginners is discovering that you do not need perfect timing. You need time in the market, not timing of the market. The earlier you begin, the more years compounding works on your behalf. Every year you wait makes the climb steeper and the effort heavier later. Time is the true currency of investing. Money is only the seed. Investing also reshapes your identity. You stop feeling like someone who only earns and spends. You begin to feel like someone who owns and grows. This psychological shift is profound. You start thinking in years instead of weeks. You care less about small fluctuations and more about direction. You become long-term oriented. And long-term thinkers experience life differently. They do not panic at noise. They do not chase every trend. They move slowly, deliberately, and consistently. This is how quiet wealth is built. Your first investment is not just financial. It is a declaration of identity. I am no longer only a consumer. I am a builder. And once you cross that psychological threshold, your relationship with money changes forever. Chapter 8: The Power of Diversification: How to Grow Without Gambling. By the time you begin investing, something subtle shifts inside you. You no longer look at money only as something to be spent or saved. You begin to see it as something that can move, grow, branch, and multiply. This is a powerful realization, but it can also be dangerous if it is not guided by wisdom. Many people discover investing and immediately fall into a hidden trap: concentration disguised as confidence. They put all their money into one idea, one stock, one business, one asset, or one sure thing. At first it feels bold. It feels decisive. It feels strong. But strength without protection is not strategy. It is exposure. Diversification is the quiet discipline that turns growth into survival and survival into long-term wealth. It is not exciting. It rarely feels impressive. But it is one of the main reasons some people stay rich while others rise quickly and fall just as fast. Diversification is the act of refusing to let a single outcome determine your financial future. It is the recognition that no one, not the smartest investor, not the richest institution, not the loudest expert, can perfectly predict the future. Markets shift. Governments change. Technologies evolve. Companies collapse. Entire industries rise and disappear. Diversification is what allows you to remain standing while the world rearranges itself. At its core, diversification is not about being clever. It is about being humble. It is the financial expression of the sentence: I do not know what will happen next, so I will not bet everything on one answer. This humility is what protects wealth. Beginners often fear diversification because they believe it will limit their upside. They think spreading money across multiple assets will slow their growth. What they fail to understand is that the fastest way to destroy growth is through a single catastrophic loss. You do not need explosive gains if you can avoid explosive losses. Losses are asymmetric. A 50% loss requires a 100% gain just to break even. A 70% loss requires a 233% gain to recover. The deeper the fall, the more impossible the climb becomes. Diversification acts as a shock absorber. It does not stop bumps. It prevents ruin. True wealth is not built by avoiding all downturns. It is built by surviving every downturn long enough to benefit from every recovery. When one asset is struggling, another may be rising. When one market is falling, another may be stable. When one industry is shrinking, another may be expanding. Diversification ensures that your entire financial life is never traveling in only one fragile direction. It also protects you from one of the most destructive forces in investing: attachment. When all your money is in one place, your emotions become chained to that single outcome. Every price movement feels personal. Every fluctuation feels like a judgment on your intelligence. This emotional pressure leads to poor decisions, panic selling, impulsive buying, constant checking, and stress. Diversification softens emotion. When your money is spread, no single movement dominates your emotional world. You think more clearly. You react less. You follow your plan instead of your fear. This emotional stability is what most people underestimate. Wealth is not destroyed by lack of opportunity. It is destroyed by emotional mistakes under pressure. Diversification reduces pressure. It gives your nervous system room to breathe. It allows you to stay calm when others rush. Calm is a competitive advantage. Another important truth about diversification is that it is not only about assets, it is also about income. The beginner who invests while relying on a single, fragile source of income carries hidden risk. When income disappears, investments are often liquidated at the worst possible time. Multiple streams of income create insulation. They prevent forced decisions. They give your investments time to recover instead of being sold in survival mode. Diversification, therefore, is not just an investing principle. It is a life principle. Fragments of stability across different areas create a whole that is resilient. The goal is not perfection. The goal is survivability. A portfolio that survives long enough will eventually grow. A system that endures will eventually compound. Many people chase optimization before they build durability. They want the fastest returns before they develop protection. This is backwards. Speed without stability is fragile. Stability creates momentum that lasts. Diversification is also a shield against arrogance. Early success can create dangerous overconfidence. When something works once or twice, the mind begins to believe it will always work. This illusion of certainty is what leads to reckless doubling down. Diversification reminds you that fortune is not a law, it is a season. And seasons change. The investor who survives for decades is not the one who is always right. It is the one who is never fully exposed to being wrong. As your wealth grows, the role of diversification becomes even more critical. At the beginning, it protects seed capital. Later, it protects freedom. What once guarded a few savings eventually guards your lifestyle, your options, and your dignity. And this brings us to a deeper truth. Wealth is not about how much you gain in good times. It is about how little you lose in bad times. Anyone can feel smart in a rising market. Wisdom reveals itself in decline. Diversification prepares you for decline before it ever arrives. It trains you to think beyond excitement. It trains you to think beyond the moment. It shifts your focus from chasing wins to preventing destruction. And the investor who prevents destruction long enough will inevitably build something powerful. Chapter 9: Lifestyle Inflation, the Silent Wealth Killer. As your income grows, so does temptation. The first raise feels like freedom. The first bonus feels like reward. And suddenly, without noticing, spending expands in tandem with earnings. This is lifestyle inflation, the subtle but relentless force that quietly erodes financial progress. Lifestyle inflation is not flashy. It does not appear as a sudden catastrophe. It is a slow leak that siphons your potential while leaving you feeling normal. Most beginners fall into this trap because society celebrates consumption. Every increase in income is treated as an opportunity to upgrade, to display, to level up. The car gets newer. The phone gets shinier. Vacations get longer. Dining out becomes standard. The problem is not spending. The problem is spending faster than growth. Your income may rise, but your freedom does not, because freedom comes not from earnings but from savings, investments, and assets working for you. Every extra dollar spent on wants is a dollar not multiplied for your future. Every unnecessary upgrade delays the day when money stops being a constraint on your life. Lifestyle inflation is stealthy because it feels justified. You earned it. You deserve it. You've worked hard. True, but the reward should not sabotage your long-term objectives. Wealth is built when income rises faster than expenses. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is where freedom lives. This is where discipline begins to pay off exponentially. When income grows but lifestyle does not, that surplus is the seed of wealth. Every dollar saved and invested compounds silently over time, creating options that will allow you to live freely, not just spend freely. The beginner who ignores lifestyle inflation often finds themselves trapped in a cycle. Earn more, spend more, save little, stress constantly. Each new milestone feels less satisfying because it is eaten immediately by higher costs. The illusion of prosperity masks stagnation. This is the cruel paradox: higher earnings with no wealth growth. Breaking this cycle begins with awareness. Track your spending carefully. Notice where increases naturally creep in: the premium subscriptions, the luxury gadgets, the upgraded experiences. Ask yourself, does this purchase align with my long-term goals, or is it simply a temporary pleasure that postpones freedom? Once aware, you must set boundaries. Decide what is non-negotiable and what is flexible. Some spending is necessary for comfort, joy, and mental health. But other spending is a slow poison disguised as reward. Identify it and contain it. The next tool against lifestyle inflation is automation. Make saving and investing automatic. Before the extra income touches your hands, direct a portion to your emergency fund, retirement accounts, or investment portfolios. Out of sight, out of mind, and growing silently. This ensures that even as your income rises, your wealth trajectory accelerates rather than stagnates. Another key principle: reward without regression. You can enjoy some increase in lifestyle without letting it consume your growth. Allocate a fixed percentage of new income for pleasure. Keep the rest working for your future self. This creates a balance: progress without guilt, enjoyment without sabotage. Mindset also plays a critical role. True financial freedom comes not from consuming more, but from controlling more. It comes from seeing money as a tool, not as an indulgence. Every time you resist unnecessary spending, you reinforce the identity of someone who builds wealth, not someone who simply earns. Lifestyle inflation is also emotional. It feeds on envy, comparison, and social pressure. The moment you let other people's choices dictate yours, you give up control. Rich neighbors, friends with luxury items, online images of curated wealth, all these are triggers. Recognize them, detach, and anchor your actions to your own goals, not others' displays. Another hidden danger is the small upgrades mindset. One latte a day, one slightly better gadget, a slightly larger apartment. These increments seem insignificant individually. Yet over years they accumulate into significant financial drag. The beginner who ignores this sees wealth erode slowly, never realizing the real cost of incremental indulgence. The solution is intentional living. Make every dollar have a purpose. Evaluate every increase in income with a question: will this bring me closer to freedom or just closer to convenience? True wealth grows when spending is intentional, not reactive. One of the most empowering realizations is that lifestyle does not need to be luxurious to be rich. A simple, stable, and intentional life can be far wealthier than a high-income, high-expense life. Freedom, options, and time are the real measures of richness, not appearances or momentary pleasure. Finally, commit to long-term thinking. Every year you delay lifestyle inflation, your investments have more time to compound. Every year you spend cautiously, you multiply the impact of your future freedom. Every year you grow without succumbing to the pull of immediate gratification, your financial foundation strengthens. Lifestyle inflation is inevitable if left unchecked. Discipline is inevitable if chosen consciously. Your goal is to choose wisely. Chapter 10: Multiple Streams of Income. Building Layers of Financial Freedom. Relying on a single source of income is one of the most dangerous financial habits a beginner can adopt. Life is unpredictable. Jobs can disappear overnight. Businesses can fail. Health emergencies can disrupt your ability to work. If all your financial security depends on one source, your freedom is fragile, and your progress is vulnerable. This is where multiple streams of income come in. They are not a luxury. They are a necessity for financial resilience. Multiple streams of income mean that your financial stability is not hostage to one paycheck, one client, or one market. They create layers of protection, flexibility, and opportunity. But more importantly, they create leverage. While one income may require your constant time and energy, additional streams can continue to grow, sometimes with minimal effort even while you sleep. The beginner often fears complexity here. I have one job. I don't have time for another. I don't know where to start. But creating multiple streams does not always mean working extra hours. It means intelligent structuring, leveraging skills, resources, or assets in a way that generates additional income without proportional stress. There are many forms these streams can take. Passive income is one. Investments that earn dividends, rental properties that yield monthly rent, royalties from creative work, or business systems that operate largely without direct oversight. Active income is another. Freelance work, consulting, or side businesses that complement your main income. A mix of both is often the most effective strategy for long-term stability. The power of multiple streams lies not only in the money itself but in the freedom of choice it creates. When you are not tied to a single source, you can make decisions based on strategy rather than necessity. You can negotiate better terms in your career, take risks in business, or pursue opportunities without the fear of financial collapse. Beginner investors and earners often overlook the compounding effect of multiple income sources. Each additional stream does more than simply add dollars. It multiplies security, reduces risk, and opens doors that single-source earners may never access. Imagine income as a series of branches. One branch can support you, but multiple branches form a sturdy tree that can withstand storms. To start building multiple streams, begin with small, manageable steps. Identify skills, interests, or assets that can be leveraged. Perhaps you can monetize a hobby, invest in dividend-yielding stocks, create digital products, or offer consulting in your field of expertise. Begin with one small step, then build systematically. Another key principle is automation. Many successful income streams grow best when systems are in place to manage them. Automating investment contributions, rental property management, or online business workflows reduces the need for constant supervision. It allows your streams to operate like silent partners, generating revenue while you focus on growth or enjoy life. Mindset is equally important. Beginners often feel that creating multiple streams is overwhelming, or that it requires extraordinary skill or luck. The truth is that consistency beats intensity. Small, steady efforts repeated over time produce compounding results. Do not wait to become an expert before you start. Start with what you know, then refine and expand. Another subtle benefit of multiple streams is psychological. When your income is diversified, fear decreases. Emergencies no longer feel catastrophic. Opportunities feel more accessible. Decisions become strategic rather than reactive. Stress reduces and focus increases. However, multiple streams are not a license for disorganization. Each stream must be tracked, evaluated, and optimized. Blindly adding income without managing it can create chaos instead of freedom. Track performance, review returns, and adjust as necessary. Systems and discipline turn potential into reality. Time is also a factor. Building multiple streams rarely happens overnight. Patience and persistence are required. Each new stream may start small, but over months and years, it can grow into a meaningful contributor to your overall wealth. The compounding effect applies not only to money but also to skills, networks, and opportunities. Finally, building multiple streams aligns your actions with financial security and freedom. It moves you from reactive living to proactive planning. It shifts the focus from surviving to thriving. And it reinforces a fundamental truth. Your wealth is not determined solely by how much you earn, but by how many doors your money opens and how many paths it secures. Actionable step. Identify one potential income stream you can start today. Set a realistic goal for the next 3 months. Create a simple system to track and grow it. Remember, even small beginnings can eventually multiply into life-changing impact. Now it's your turn. Stop letting fear, procrastination, or uncertainty control your finances. Take one decisive step today, whether it's creating your emergency fund, paying down debt, starting your first investment, or building a new income stream. Action compounds faster than ideas alone. Start small, stay consistent, and watch your financial freedom grow. Your future self is waiting. Make them proud and take control right now.